when we have riots, it's because people believe that their government or their politicians have failed them or are just flat out ignoring them. And they feel like they have to take this into their own hands. That's how I mostly feel like riots happen. Some people, I think some rioters, some protesters are doing it to do it. I do believe that. Like some people are like, yeah, man, I'll throw a Molotov cocktail. Let's go, baby. It's litty. But I think some people are like, look, the government has said this is a hate crime. The media has said this is a hate crime. All these people have said it's a hate crime. Therefore, it's a hate crime. And they're obviously not doing anything about it. So I'm going to go do something about it. That's what you end up with. So then you end up with what we're seeing in the streets. Now, my stance on riots is pretty cut and dry. I think that anytime you're rioting, anytime you're burning down buildings, anytime you're destroying property, anytime you are destroying your own community, it's a really bad decision. It is a cut off your nose to spite your face thing or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. I was reading where one of the car dealerships that got burned down and destroyed, it had a Black Lives Matter sign out front. And it's like, what is that doing? Who is that hurting? What is that doing? Like, okay, I understand these rioters are upset about the situation. What are they exactly rioting for? Because they don't even know the whole story. They don't know what happened. They don't know anything about the situation with the domestic dispute. They don't know why the cops were there. They don't know why we haven't seen anything. So what exactly are they rioting for? And then you see what they're doing. Oh, let's see. What have they done? Did they tear down the police station? No, they burned down a locally owned bakery and a AutoZone dealership with a Black Lives Matter flag out front. Okay, well, that seems pretty counterintuitive. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why are they doing that? And then you see, them just assaulting people. You see them attacking people. And I just don't know. I just don't know what they're actually rioting for. I think the riots are pretty easy to just see and say, yep, this is bad. This is a bad group. This is a bad deal. And this is not what should be happening right now. Now, with that being said, that leads into people becoming vigilantes and militia members. And when they become vigilantes and militia members, you see shootings in the streets. Kyle Rittenhouse, 17 years old, was charged with shooting. I just went backwards on my page. Was charged with shooting 3 people. 2 of them died during a Tuesday night protest. He considers himself a militia member trying to protect life and property, according to videos, interviews, and social media posts. I actually saw a video or an interview with him that was filmed like 2 hours before the shooting. And he explained that it's his job to protect the business, that he's protecting people and protecting property. And that's it. And he's walking around with a long gun, I guess they call it. And he's on video shooting someone and then being chased down by another group, falling to the ground, turning around and blasting 2 other people. And 2 of those 3 died. And this is another situation where we can't just say, oh, this is a domestic terrorist. We can't just say, oh, this is a killer, this is a murderer, this is a serial killer. We can't just say that. But we also can't say, hey, man, he's just protecting himself. We don't know. We don't know what happened with the first shooting. In the second video, it's pretty plausible that it's self-defense. I mean, he's being chased by 50 people, and he falls to the ground in the middle of the street, and people are jumping all over him. So, I mean, yeah, I can see where that's self-defense, but you can't claim self-defense if the first shooting is for nothing. You can't run into a high school and shoot someone in the face, and then once the rest of the school tries to, detain you, and you open fire again, you can't be like, oh, I was defending myself. Well, you're only in that situation because of your first actions. So Kyle Rittenhouse's first actions, if the first shooting was him just blasting someone, and then all of a sudden this group is chasing him to try and stop him, then the self-defense goes out the window. Now, it's also possible that the first shooting, he might have felt threatened in the first shooting. And then you may ask yourself, well, hey, man, don't come to a riot with a damn AR-15. That seems it's pretty hard to, say, hey, yeah, I was just hanging out pretty chill at the riot. I was just hanging out with my AR-15, and people started getting kind of mouthy, so I just blasted a few of them. I mean, that's tough to say too. But it's worse to even think that we're in the situation where we believe, or we have this situation where people believe that they need a militia. They need vigilantes. And you see this kind of stuff with these riots. I don't know. I've done a day's worth of research on this. I don't know if Kyle Rittenhouse, if he has a business, or his family has a business or whatever, or if he was there just as part of the militia. But you have people now who have seen this happen time and time again, where rioters are destroying businesses and ending careers and ruining lives and whatever. And so people that this happens to, they do think like, hey, I got to protect my stuff. I got to protect my house. I got to protect my kids. And you end up with a 17-year-old brandishing a rifle, shooting people in the streets of Wisconsin. It's kind of funny because I had this conversation a couple days ago with some friends, and I was like, I keep hearing people say, oh, man, I just bought some ammo, like 500 rounds, 1,000 rounds. And we always say, like, what are you going to do with that? How do you see the world when you are just back against the wall with a rifle just unloading? How do you see things? What does it look like, Walking Dead? Like, what's happening? And I think that they just see it as what's happening right now in Wisconsin. I think they just see rioters just tearing down things, just Molotov cocktails and broken windows and whatnot. And these people are saying, well, shit, I mean, if the police ain't going to stop them, if, whoever, if the government's not going to stop them, I guess I'm going to stop them. And, I mean, it is a gruesome consequence to think about a 17-year-old killing two people in the streets because he feels like he's protecting property and life, and like it's the damn 1800s. We're in 2020. The Jetsons said we would have flying cars right now. The Jetsons they were flying around the cities. We had people, I thought people would be on like surfboards that could just float through the city and get you to where your destination is. And instead, we have 17-year-olds running through the streets of Wisconsin with a rifle, shooting people, burning down the city. And I'll say this about this 17-year-old. In the videos and in the tweets or whatever, the interviews he did before, I think he really is just there for, like, as a policeman, I guess. He at one point in the videos, he's like trying to get medical attention to people. He's speaking like he's just there to protect, there to serve. And we don't know what happened to start the first shooting. We don't know what led to that. And that really kind of dictates how you look at the second shooting. But I don't think he was a domestic terrorist. I mean, I saw people, just to show how social media is again, I saw people comparing him to Dylan Roof. And it's just not. Like, Dylan Roof was a murderer who was a racist who went into a place of worship with the plan to kill. Very obviously. With no remorse. But this kid ain't that. This kid ain't that. This kid may have been a impassioned police, fan or whatever, enthusiast. He may have backed the blue, as you say. But that seems to be about it. The rest of it just seems to be a guy who's putting his back against the wall and trying to protect his community and doing whatever the hell he thinks he needs to do. I'm obviously not saying they should have shot 3 people and killed 2. But man, think about the nation. Think about where we are as a species and a people. that a 17-year-old is even in that situation. Think about what you were doing at 17. What were you doing at 17? I mean, I was just playing video games with my friends, doing Madden drafts, just staying up all night. I mean, just stupid stuff. Like, life wasn't, it wasn't grab an AR and go protect your city. It wasn't rioters or burning down the city. Looters are here. Grab the rifles. We got to protect the city until sunrise. It wasn't that. It wasn't a real life rendition of Red Dead Redemption. I mean, these people are living in Lonesome Dove. It's like they're living in an old Western movie. Is that what it's like out there? Maybe it is. It's not where I'm from. But will it be? I mean, I'm also lucky to be in a place where rioting isn't happening. Is that it? Like, once riots happen, are people just pushed? I mean, I saw videos whenever the riots first started with George Floyd. I saw a video in Utah where rioters surrounded this car, and the car got out, or the guy got out of the car, and he had a bow and arrow. And he was pointing a bow and arrow at like 70 people. And that was 2 months ago. And now we're at this. And I want to talk about these rioters a little more. I want to talk about the next thing. So I'm going to show some of these videos on the YouTube. These are protesters or rioters. I'm not even sure what the hell. I'm not even totally sure what the hell you call these people. But it shows them berating diners in D.C. and some other places, and they're just screaming at people. And they're forcing people to raise their fists. And they're saying things like, white silence is violence. No justice, no peace. They're asking people, are you Christian? Are you a Christian? They're saying, raise your hand or you're against us. And man, this video just kind of made me sick. Honestly. These videos just kind of made me sick. Because this is just, I don't want to say terrorism, but it's pretty damn close. Whenever you're doing things to just enact, you're just trying to get fear, you're trying to scare people into doing what you want, that's pretty close to just outright terrorism. And it's really awful that we have so many social issues going on right now. And you have people who are going around forcing people to adhere to their wishes, raise a fist, or do whatever they're asked, or they're going to berate you, scream at you, flip over your table, ruin your dinner, ask you if you're a Christian. I mean, it's just disgusting to me. And that's what I was talking about earlier with the rioters, where I think a lot of them are just rioting, just doing stuff to do it. It's hard to imagine that those people who are crashing these diners and holding people, basically kidnapping these people and trying to force them into raising their fist, it's hard to believe that they line up with the same values as Martin Luther King Jr. Our true civil rights leaders. It's really hard to believe that all of those line up. And it's disgusting. I mean, look, I support equality. I was trying to think of a group, but I support equality. I think that's obvious. But if I was eating and a group of masked people stormed my table and told me to raise my fist, or I'm against them, and then asked me if I was a Christian, and then called me whatever names they wanted to call me. In the article I was just reading, they called one of the diners a pasty bitch. And they can't call me a pasty bitch because I got this bronze, baby. I got this golden bronze. Everybody knows I've been in the sun for 6 months straight. Man's got this tan. Man's looking good. So ain't nobody calling me a pasty bitch. But if they came up to my table and they told me to raise my fist, or they spit at me, or they were berating me, and they told me white silence is violence, or whatever the hell they were saying, I wouldn't raise my fist. I think it's one of those like old school things where you just don't give in to that. And it's crazy to think that in their mind, they're fighting for what's right. And I'd like to remind you of something that I've always believed, that radicalism is a circle, or really just beliefs are a circle. And a lot of people believe beliefs are a line, right? You have your right and you have your left. And if you're way right and you're way left, you're at the furthest possible parts. But I believe that it's a circle. And the start at the top, and then you go right and left. And so actually, the most right and the most left, the most radical, they actually are the closest together. If you do the circle with your hands, so put them at the top, and then you go in a circle, and then you stop when you get to the bottom. That's the most left and most right you can go. And they think they're the furthest apart, that they're really the same, right? The radicalism is the bad part. The radical right or radical left, people that are driving through protests and splattering people, or people who are jumping into diners, flipping tables, and forcing you to raise your fists or calling you a pasty bitch. Those are the worst of the worst. Easily the worst of the worst. And the sooner they realize that, the better for all of us. Radical politics, radical beliefs, whether social beliefs, religious beliefs, the radical sectors are the dangerous parts.